I'm in seventh grade at Brown Middle School in Newton, Massachusetts.
How do you like your school?
It's pretty fun, but I guess I liked it more before the pandemic because now it's like hard to like meet with friends and stuff. I like all my subjects, but my favorite would probably be science because I have fun doing like all the different experiments we get to do, especially when like before when we could go to school, we got to like experiment with things we typically didn't get to experiment with at home.
What do you do outside of school?
Outside of school, I actually also play the violin and I like reading, drawing, and skiing. And also before, I like traveling around the world.
You have a piano and a violin. Do you spend equal time on both instruments?
I probably spend more time on the piano because I only picked up violin in fourth grade, so it's like kind of newer than piano.
Now, tell me a little bit about your piano study.
Well, I started when I was 4.5 with Professor Natasha, and I actually started on like a digital piano my mom got for me because she didn't know if I would want to continue learning it or not. So, but like on the digital piano, it's like when you press a key, it's like different than like how it feels pressing a key on the real piano. And there's like you can't do any dynamics. So then after 1.5 year of like doing like practicing on a digital piano, Professor Natasha told me that if I didn't get a real piano soon, she wouldn't teach me anymore. So that was when my mom and Professor Natasha picked like a real piano for me. When I was little, like my mom had to like constantly make schedules for me to like practice, like for example, 30 minutes every day from like 4 to 4:30. And she would always have to like monitor me as I'm playing because she didn't know if I would be like actually playing or just like sitting there and not doing anything. But then as I got older, like my pieces got harder and I had to practice more. So, but sometimes like when I finish a piece and I'm like playing it in a recital after I finish, I feel like super proud. And that's when I feel like the hours I spent practicing were like worth it. So I feel like that feeling is kind of what motivates me to practice like every day.
How's your practice look like?
Well, usually when I'm practicing, first I like warm up my hands with like a scale or something maybe, and then I start like doing the pieces. I definitely practice slowly and separately each hand, like while I'm practicing, and a lot of times I like pick out like hard sections and practice those specifically, especially when I like performed it before and I've made a mistake in that piece a lot of times in that place. First, I like take out the technical parts and like practice them like slowly so that I can like get them to really flow. And after like I'm kind of like familiar with it, I connect it to like the rest of the piece so that I can like make sure I can connect it there. But like I also make sure it doesn't sound like too technical, like just marching and all. So I have, and then that's when I'm like in the musical part. I find it easier to like convey my feelings through the piece and like connect myself to the music when I like have certain images in my mind while playing. Like the Beethoven I was playing, I like it's like a very orchestral piece. So I imagine like an orchestra playing while I play. Like some parts I imagined like violins playing, some parts I imagined flutes playing, and some parts I imagine like the whole orchestra playing. When I first get a piece, I definitely first go online and like listen to other people play it so that I get an idea of like the feeling of the piece. And then I also listen to some people like have lectures about it so that I can like listen to some people. And then after I definitely do research on like the composer and sometimes I also do research on the piece.
What has been the most rewarding experience for you?
One of the most rewarding experience would probably be when I was playing a part of a piece at a party at my friend's house. And after I finished that part, an old lady came up to me and asked me to play the whole piece because she said that my playing reminded her of her friend who passed away that also played that piece. And I was like super touched, and I felt like that was like when I felt like all the hours I'd spent practicing were like really worth it.
Do you have a favorite composer or composers?
Well, one of my favorite composers, I would say, would probably be Chopin. I played a lot of his pieces in the past, and I have some pieces that I really want to play that are also by him. I feel like his pieces always have like a really deep and feeling, and they're like a really wide variety. There's like really fast etudes, and then really like deep feeling slow nocturnes. So there's like
What other things you do musically?
well, since I also play violin, I also participate in an orchestra. And before the pandemic, I also did chamber music with mostly with a violin and a cello.
Do you feel that part of you chamber music experiences help you with your piano study as well?
Yeah, because in chamber music, you have to really listen to like the other people that are also playing, and I felt like that's like helped me like increase like how much I really listen to the music while I'm playing. Well, I definitely record myself a lot and listen to my recordings because I find it easier to listen after I'm playing than like while I'm playing. So, and as I said, I also like imagine images, and that helps me like really like play and convey my feelings through it. I experiment a lot with the sound, but my teacher, Professor Natasha, also helps me a lot with it. And sometimes she tells me like which part of my body I should really use to like make a specific sound. Like sometimes I have to use my arm strength. Sometimes I use like even my shoulder strength to do it, and a lot of times I use like my wrist. Well, like sight reading a new piece of music isn't like super hard for me, so I usually can like learn all the notes. When I first sight read a piece, unfortunately I don't really pay like a lot of attention to the dynamics and stuff. So usually she has to help me like remind me to do like the dynamics like specifically because sometimes I tend to ignore them. So that's when like usually I can learn the notes but just not a lot of the details before class.
What are the pieces you're playing right now?
Currently I'm playing a Chopin Etude, Opus 25, number 11. Um, I'm playing Chopin Scherzo number 2, and I'm also playing a Prokofiev sonata.
Do you use one of the instruments to engage in the community services at all?
Yeah, so I performed piano in a nursing home like multiple times. So that was a pretty good experience for me, because, especially because like some old ladies came up to me and they told me that like my playing was really reminded them of their younger days.
Do you sometimes attend summer music camps?
I've so recently in these years I've attended like a lot of music summer camps. One of them was where it was like you have like a performance every 1 or 2 weeks, and you get a few master classes. Like you get like 1 or 2 master classes every week. So that was like a really fun experience for me.
Surrounded by other young musicians, also inspiring. How are you doing with this pandemic?
Um, I would want like a chance to perform live and also connect with people like face to face, and well instead of like through Zoom and internet.
Do you have any a word of encouragement for little kids?
Well, there will definitely be like hard parts in the musical journey, and like definitely times when you won't feel like super motivated to practice, or but like persevere and like overcome those challenges.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.